Hi, hello. Thanks for coming back. Welcome to episode 4 of Powerbombshells, two broads talking about wrestling. I am Sam.
And I am Mel.
So how did your week go?
Well, it's I've been Sam and I are doing this by ourselves. So this show is all ours now.
That's right.
So it's gonna be fun today. We're gonna have a lot of fun watching Mel mess around with the thingy. And that's okay because I spent my week watching a lot of wrestling and
wow, me too.
uploading a lot of these wonderful it was a good week though. I think it was a good week. Like we got a lot of news right as we were coming on the air. There's all kinds of stuff. Like we're Sunday right now, so it's Friday Cody or Saturday Cody's signed for absolutely sure and all these things. So it was like, but I tried to I was limiting my amount of, because Wednesday really did it for me. I know we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. Yes, for sure.
It was very nice.
Yes.
And I am all ready to go. I've got all of my I've got all my shots so I can go to the death matches in Detroit. They assure me getting all my shots makes me safe to go.
Well, there you go. Well, then you're all
I'm really excited. And then
I'm excited for you.
We need to mention Mania Week because that's going to come in between. And the people here, including ourselves, are going to be doing a
we are doing a lot of stuff. We are watching, I am watching a lot of stuff that is non-WWE related, but we are, so we'll definitely keep an eye on, obviously the next episode and obviously on Twitter. On Twitter, we stay up to date there and we'll have a better idea of what we're doing, but we're definitely going to be doing a special show the Sunday of Mania weekend, before Mania. Night 2 of Mania. So we'll be talking about what we watched that's not WWE because there's a ton of wrestling going on that weekend and we want to make sure that everybody's getting some attention and getting some coverage because there's some good shows and some good people out there who are not in WWE who are going to be killing it that weekend, and we want to make sure that you guys know about it. So definitely check that out. There will definitely be some spaces from Fight Game Media, so make sure you're following Fight Game Media on Twitter as well, because they will have an up-to-date schedule of when things will be going on. But just be prepared for that. There's going to be a lot of wrestling information and shows for you to consume on top of the wrestling that you're watching.
Well, and I really like that. There's a lot of freedom here. We have a lot of different kind of shows. I know that you might check out, do some Impact stuff because you're also an Impact watcher pretty regularly.
Yes.
And you're right. There's so much going on that we should be covering everybody.
Yes.
When I was in New York, it was really interesting because when I was in Seattle and I went to WrestleMania, I wasn't kind of in the club yet. I was like, I'm going to WrestleMania. And that was back. So I didn't really understand all the things that crop up around Mania. But when we went to New York, and in fairness, we went for the New Japan the ROH show that was mostly a New Japan show. But, it was a New Japan show for us. That's why we went. But I'm grateful to ROH for being able to get that going.
Yeah, and that's what I say. They were definitely a good gateway for a lot of people, including myself. So.
And then we ended up at Mania anyway and had a lot of fun because my friend that was with us he's from Ireland. So he's never been to a Mania and it was a lot of fun. It's so much fun who you go with.
Yeah, absolutely.
It takes it to a new level. It's when you watch. It's
Mania is still on my list of shows to go to, even though I've lost a lot of interest the last few years, which is not.
You should go. I want to go. A non-watcher.
Right.
One of these days.
I definitely want. That's a bucket list thing, but now there's so much outside of it, and it's a lot of wrestling that I do watch, and it's people that I watch on a regular basis. So I would like to experience the full thing. But WrestleMania is still, even though I have a whole lot of lack of interest this year, even if I were going, it's just the experience and being able to say, especially as somebody who's watched wrestling for a really long time, then that's definitely something that, that I want to just say that I got to go to. So yeah, that's definitely on the list for sure.
I never would have thought I'd go to two. It was such a weird thing. It's such a but one was in my town where I lived and the other was, we were there and he'd never been, and you got to go. I think you do need to go once. It's the Super Bowl of wrestling.
Yeah, I definitely, and I was hoping that, at some point that Charlotte would get it, especially because with Bank of America Stadium, it's the open door or open.
Oh, yeah.
So it's open. And so I think it would be a cool place that they could definitely do tons of pyro and things like that. So I was hoping that was going to happen, but they seem to kind of visit the same kind of cities. But I still, like I said, it's a bucket list thing. I definitely, as a wrestling fan, want to go to WrestleMania at least once, wherever it is. So that's definitely something that's up there for sure.
Definitely.
So on the first episode, we did kind of a getting to know you type of thing because we are still getting to know each other. We do enjoy talking about wrestling with each other. So we're going to try to bring that back pretty regularly. It may not be every single episode, but we're definitely going to try to get to it because it's something that we enjoy doing. And apparently Garrett liked it as well.
Because he's the one who brought it up. He's like, yeah, you guys didn't do it. I was like,
we didn't have time.
We got a lot to cover.
Yeah, so we will definitely bring it back when there's room for it, but we'll make sure to make room for it. So this week, do you want to ask this question since it was yours, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I threw this one in there.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
This is an interesting one, and I haven't thought very hard about it, so it'll be fun to watch me scramble around for the answer.
That's okay. I kind of, when I saw it, it took me a minute, and I was like, well, I guess this, so we'll see.
Perfect. So if you didn't know me well, but thought from talking to me a little that I might enjoy some wrestling, what match or matches would you show me?
The match that I thought of first was because you and I kind of mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, was the ladder match in ROH between, it was a Supercard of Honor, and it was the Hardy Boys versus Young Bucks, and it was for the ROH titles. It was right before, it was when everything was really exciting and we didn't know where the Hardy Boys were going because they had just left Impact, and there were rumors that they were going to show up Mania, and this was Mania weekend, and so they did show up and they had an amazing match, and then they went to WrestleMania. And then so it was a really fun time, especially if you're a Hardy Boys fan or a fan of Broken Matt and Brother Nero. It was right on the heels of all of that stuff, and so that was when they had, and I have the shirt that I actually wore a couple episodes ago, where they are the greatest tag team in all of space and time. And so, so yeah, that was a fantastic match. And if you love tag team wrestling, that is a match that you have to check out. And so I would definitely say that. And then I would also show, I would say anything with Kenny Omega and Okada. That series was that was because I got into New Japan really late, and so their feud was had already been happening. Yep. And so and I had seen both of them, and I really was a fan of both of theirs, and then their matches, like those, they just I didn't, it was almost like I didn't know wrestling could be like that, just because I'd watched WWE for so long. That Japanese wrestling tells stories completely differently. The way they focus on moves, and it just the whole way that they do things is completely different. I mean, obviously there are similarities, but and the way those two, they are so. One of my favorite things about Kenny Omega is the way he tells the story. He's so good at it. His mind is incredible. And so, and then matching him with somebody like Okada, who is arguably, obviously arguably two of the best wrestlers in the world at any given time there. And you see what Kenny Omega was doing at like 70%, and how he was still killing it. So I was like, imagine how he is at 100%. And then Okada, that was a really great run for him. So I think just showing, because I would love to show somebody that type of wrestling and to see, and so you understand why there are 7-star matches with those.
You understand why this rating system people talk about is broken,
right? Exactly. And then I know there's the joke, well, if it happens in the Tokyo Dome, whatever. And so I know ratings really don't necessarily matter, because it all is subjective, just like anything else, music, art, movies, whatever. But this is their storytelling, and their matches are something that I think all wrestling fans should watch, because it's something that I think really anybody would enjoy, even if you don't typically enjoy the New Japan type of wrestling. I think that the matches themselves are just that good, that I think that most people would enjoy them. So I would definitely say those. And then I was thinking about New Japan, and I was thinking about Shingo Takagi when he was in BOSJ, which he really had no business being in, because he's not a junior, but they got off with it. It was a technicality. And I'm glad that they did it, just because because that was really my first.
What was he, like 0.1
Yeah, I can't remember
grams under.
Yeah, something insane. Like he just barely, like it's like 205 live, and he was like 204.9. It's like
0.9.75.
Yeah, he was like just under. So they got off on a technicality, but it resulted in some incredible matches, and that's where I really got to see Shingo, and I was so impressed with him, and I think he's wonderful. And so I would definitely say, those matches are things that I would go back to again for sure. And I would show people, because he wrestled a variety of people too, so you get to see a bunch of different styles, which is one of my favorite things about like BOSJ, is that you get multiple styles, and even with G1 you get a lot of different contrasting styles. So like I love G1,
my favorite.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, I'll just show you. Just come watch G1 with me.
Yeah, but that's a big commitment. I have a friend that I think pretty deep. It's like if you're just like coming to it new, it's like
right. I guess that'll be the next step. Like once you're kind of already into it, like okay, I saw Okada and Kenny Omega. I really like that. What else can you show me? Then you can come watch G1.
I like that you're just like Okada and something.
Yeah, Okada and
I'm wearing my Rainmaker shirt. You can't really see it today, but I had to wear it.
And you're not, and then I was like, we haven't even got to the Brokada stuff yet. Which was fun. I loved it. I loved Brokada stuff. So as you can tell, we love Okada.
Yeah, because he went with the pants and the whole thing. But
and the red hair.
I loved it.
And he had the balloons.
I'm not I remember hating it at first and then realizing that he was doing exactly like he was working the crap out of me. I mean, it was working and I was loving every minute of it.
He basically took Broken Matt and just made it Okada's version.
So true. That was so funny. It was a friend. I didn't watch TNA and Impact. I just didn't. And so it was it was like in an off time, and I kept seeing the joke because I was getting back into it. Mm-hmm. My friend's like, "Oh, you don't know about the final deletion?"
Oh my god, that stuff was so much fun. I loved it.
Sat. This is hilarious. So he tweeted it at me, like he shared it to me, and I sat for what is that, like 20 minutes or whatever length of time.
Yeah, that's just one though, because there was a whole.
I know. Yeah, I went after that, but that was the first one I got sent and went. What? Why am I watching this? Why have I not seen this?
It was incredible. Yeah, because I was watching Impact then, and I was kind of like, it was where I was kind of into it and kind of not, and it was just kind of there. And then that stuff started, and I was just all in with it. It was so much fun because it was ridiculous, but it was also so innovative and creative, and it was just a lot. And it was just, I think the main thing it was just fun. It was just something really cool. And then all the layers that they added in with it. And then, it was, I know they tried to recreate it in WWE, and that didn't. Well, poor Bray. He did I know it's because Vince said he didn't get it and he understood, but Bray Wyatt, I think, was the perfect, if they were going to do it there, Bray Wyatt is the perfect person, because I think and I've always said this about him, even back when he was like doing Husky Harris stuff. I think his mind is similar to Matt Hardy's. He's just extremely creative. And his promos are great. His character work is fantastic. And I think that, that gets overlooked a lot. And I think that putting him with Matt at that time was perfect. And so they did the best they could with what they were given. And I think that they, it was hard for the fans, but then I'm sure if people who didn't, WWE fans who didn't watch that stuff, I'm sure they did not understand what they were seeing and what was going on. But for those of us who did, it was still cool. It didn't obviously live up to, what had been happening previously, but it was still fun, which, is always a good thing in wrestling.
Fun is very important.
Yes.
And I'm going to see what I think is fun is like, so you would show them you'd show people New Japan and the person's New Japan and Okada.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some AEW stuff that I would probably show them. Like one of my favorite matches is the parking lot brawl. I loved that match. So if you want to see ridiculous things and not actual matches, I've got you covered there too.
Yeah, I think the ridiculous part is where a lot of people like get lost at first.
Yeah.
But like my choice for this one would actually be it's a funny one, but would be Orange Cassidy versus Pac back in Pac. Excuse me.
I know. I still say Pac too. That's what I thought it was.
Well, I watched way too much OTT, or was watching it.
Well, and I just thought it was Pac because it was like Tupac, and so I just assumed it was obviously without. Yeah. I mean, I knew that's not where he got it from, but I just because of the spelling, I assumed, and then I think we all did, and then they were like Pac, and I was like, is it
okay? Yeah,
is it
that guy?
That guy.
The bastard.
Yes, that he is.
And I love the orange. I can't remember from how long ago it is. It's been a few years now. But
yeah, that match was great.
What was great about it was that Orange Cassidy was doing his thing, and Pac was like trying to wrestle, but then his thing started to get over, and he was like, okay, F it. Like, I'll do this. And it became a really, really good match because it had all the shenanigans.
Yeah, that you would expect from Orange
Cassidy. We're going to go that route, I would show people Colt Cabana versus Yano, because that was one of the greatest, most fun matches ever in my life. I just love
and
that.
John Moxley, let's point this out now. John Moxley fears Yano.
Agreed. Definitely. Way more than Will Ospreay. Way more.
way more.
Way more.
I mean, that man put Suzuki in a dog cage like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, see? Right. Crazy people.
Yeah, so here, if you want another crazy funny match to watch, here's Suzuki who murders everybody. However, he will wrestle in a dog cage match, and he will take it as seriously as he does anything else. I
love that guy. Suzuki is actually one of the first people that got me into New Japan.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll just show him that and just show this.
I don't know. I don't know if that's for everybody. I checked out Hiromu versus. Go.
I was gonna say just Suzuki chopping people.
Which leads me to I watched the Hiromu versus Suzuki match from New Japan.
I have got to watch New Japan.
Yeah, you know what?
Matches. There's so many. That match I wanted to see. I saw that was happening, and I was like, I've got to make some time for these cup matches because there's some good stuff happening over there.
I've been picking and choosing.
I need to. I wish they would put up the individual matches. That would make it so much easier than because I was like, I don't have time to fast forward through every single show to get to what I want to get to and fast forward too far and all that stuff. So I was like, please put up the individual matches so I can watch what I need to. Thank you.
Yeah. But in a way, I can do the thing where I let it roll.
Yeah.
Walk around and do my,
that's what I'll probably do is just do things that need to be done until it's time for those matches. But yeah, so that one I'm sure. So it sounds like it was a good one.
It was excellent. But it was not a match I would show someone on their first time at all. It's literally the opposite of that. Because I don't know that everybody wants to see two guys slap the crap out of each other.
I mean, I do.
But you're into this sort of thing.
Right, exactly.
We enjoy these sorts of
We do enjoy the violence.
It's a great Suzuki, it's a perfect Suzuki match. But Hiromu was like, okay, well, it's my time to go have this match. And
good
he
for
went
him.
And had it.
Good for Hiromu. I'm very glad for him. I love him. He's wonderful.
Yeah, he's good stuff.
So are there any other matches that you would if I had to really sit down and think about it, I'm sure I could make a list, but like just off the top of my head, those were things that I thought of. Yeah. But even going back to AEW matches that like if we were showing some serious matches, I would probably show Cody Dusty 1 from AEW. That was good. One of my favorite, because my sister and I have had this conversation because I think the conversation came up that, they've been around for 3 years. Like what are, some of their best matches? And I was like, and we were even talking about what were Cody's best matches. And she and I both said the dog collar match with Brody Lee.
Yeah, that's a pretty great
That's one
match.
of my favorite matches in AEW in general. And then definitely that was probably one of Cody's best matches. But Cody versus Dustin, but both there's two Cody versus Dustin matches, and they were both excellent, but the first one was just because there was so much emotion involved in it, and that was an incredible match. I would definitely but that's kind of an intense one to watch. I think especially if you are kind of already invested in either Cody or Dustin or both of them. That's one. I don't know if that's a first time person, just because the match itself is great, but I think the emotion of knowing these characters and knowing these wrestlers and knowing that they're, their whole story, I think, definitely takes it to a different level of enjoyment. So that might be a match to show them later on, but it's definitely a good one.
At least the thing I love about wrestling is that now that I've gotten to know that there's all these other times.
Yeah.
I'll never run out because I can barely stay caught up with what's happening.
Yeah, there's so much going on. Like, I keep saying, like, I'm gonna get, and then we heard the news this morning. You probably, if you're watching this, you've probably heard the news that DDT has a partnership with AEW. DDT is a company I've meant to go back. Like, I've seen clips on Twitter, which this is why I wish New Japan would let people keep their gifts and their clips up, because this is how I found a ton of stuff that I watch now. And so I've seen things from DDT, and it's ridiculous, and it's amazing, and it's funny, and so, I'm looking forward to that. I keep saying I'm going to get into Stardom. That still hasn't happened, because everybody tells me, they're like, you love women's wrestling. They're like, you need to be watching Stardom. I know. I just need, I got to be like Ibushi.
There's only so many hours in a day. And
well,
so many
Ibushi says there's 25 hours in a day. So I need to start going the Ibushi schedule.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard the conversation? I've got to.
Yeah. But he's superhuman. That's not fair.
Well, that's true. That's not fair, because, Ibushi is not. He's not like the rest.
He wasn't built like a normal human.
No,
being.
Definitely not. No.
It's just, that guy doesn't get to run around telling the rest of us. It's like, no bionic weird person. No. Go back to doing your beautiful moonsaults and your like amazing things that I didn't think a human could do.
I know. There's
a lot of people I miss right now.
Yeah.
I keep having this like fantasy booking scenario in my head where Coda and Kenny come back together, and then there's something there. I know. I'm sorry.
I need it. So
I love that possibility is possible now.
Yeah.
We were talking about that a couple years ago.
From a few years. Yeah. It's amazing.
It's not. Now Tony even owns. I mean, okay. I like the idea of the partnership. I think that we're going to end up seeing whatever streaming deal ultimately becomes a thing that is associated with AEW.
I could see that happening.
I think that they're really going to commit to having a real library. I mean, if they do follow the HBO Max model, like their library of DC stuff, for example, pretty deep and pretty well presented. Like, I mean, I can watch, and DC's so funny because I like meh on their live action, but love their anime. But they have it all segmented up for me, and I can watch it, and I know where it comes from, and it's like, good luck trying to, I mean, I know that everyone says it about WWE and the way they handle the library and everything, but I mean, they've got a pretty powerful streaming situation going on there, and that will bring in a lot of people, I think, that wouldn't have otherwise necessarily subscribed to HBO Max or been long-term subscribers to HBO Max. So.
Yeah, and so I'm excited to see where they go with that, and it'll give me, maybe that'll give me the push to actually like check out some DDT stuff. I'm really hoping, the main thing that I really hope comes away from this, other than fans just checking them out, is I hope that the women are heavily involved. I was really disappointed with the Forbidden Door stuff. I mean, they had some great stuff, but I was really disappointed that the women were not included at all, especially when you had Deanna and Britt vocally, publicly pushing for it multiple times, and there was that's a whole other conversation. So I'm hoping this time that they learned from that, especially because, they say we listen to the fans. Well, the fans were asking for the women to be involved in the Forbidden Door, and they weren't. So I'm hoping with DDT, especially because they've done, they did the women's tournament where they include some of the Japanese wrestlers, which was really cool because I got exposed to people that I've heard of but I've never seen wrestle before. I got exposed to Maki Ito, and I think she's delightful and she's hilarious. And I hope that I definitely think we'll get more of her, because I think Tony knows that the fans love her.
She's great.
Yeah, she's fantastic. So I'm hoping that they get more involvement with the women this time around. And then I guess if they're doing the streaming deal, maybe there will be some more. Maybe they'll have like they'll have AEW presents Daily DDT. I mean, Daily DDT. DDT Pro.
That's all right.
DDT Pro. And then also.
Check us out. No.
That's where my writing is at. And then maybe they'll even have some Ring of Honor stuff. Maybe we'll get like a super crossover giant
Oh my
show.
God, like a mega card thing.
Yeah, how cool would that be? I would watch 2 nights of that. If they wanted to do a 2-night.
It would be kind of a fun concept to get something like that going.
Because there's just so many different styles. And I think especially with people in Ring of Honor they seem to and I know people in AEW too, but people in Ring of Honor have had so much background experience in other companies. Like, I think that they could get a lot of really cool stuff with DDT. So I would like to see that.
More wrestling that gives people more opportunities and more eyes on more things is always going to be something that I'm a fan of.
Yes, me too.
I don't, if the only thing you watch is WWE, that you're still watching. I mean,
yeah, and there's still some good look. Really good talent there, and I
agreed.
It's some of my favorites with me. I don't watch them anymore, but some of my favorite people are there.
Absolutely.
And so they're getting on TV and they're getting, they're getting to exposure, they're getting paid. So, I'm all for that. But, like we said, competition is good for everybody.
It always is.
It's always good. People, there's only, especially in professional wrestling, there's only so many places that you can work and be on TV, if that's your goal. And so I think, and then so there's streaming. And so there's you've got the GCW stuff and you've got, you have all these companies that have streaming. So, or there's places like IWTV, which I subscribe to as well, that there's a ton of wrestling. I could probably just watch everything in wrestling or just watch, there's so many different promotions there. And my local promotion, PWX, just started airing they started to deal with IWTV at the end of last year or late last year. So now there's a bunch of stuff over there. So I can show my friends. I'm like, this is the shows that I go to every month. And I'm like, now you can watch it. And so it's cool. So, but yeah, so I think the more exposure to wrestling, the more competition there is, and just to see that there's so much more outside of what we've been shown for 20 years, that there's some, there's stuff out there and you don't have to trade tapes anymore. And
that's what brought me back. I mean,
I never
is that it was a new kind of wrestling, because I like wrestling, but it was a new kind of wrestling that brought me back.
And I think that's why I got super into the New Japan stuff and the ROH storylines that were being told, because it was something different and it was something new and it was being told in a different way than I had been used to seeing, and it made things exciting. And then obviously it led to AEW and things like that. So I think it's definitely a good thing. And so, who knows where a relationship like this could lead to. It could lead to something else, or just exposure to, to more things that are, because Japanese, like we talked about, Japanese wrestling is a completely different style, than even what they're doing in AAA and things like that. And so, I mean, that's why they send their wrestlers on excursions, because they send them to learn, all the different types. Yeah, exactly. And then they figure out how, what works with their style and what they like. And then they take it with them. And so, and you can get incredible matchups when you have things like that, when you have wrestlers who are not trained to specifically be a certain way, that they're not just, they only do these types of wrestling and this type of stuff. And so I think that's a really cool thing to see.
No artist would study one kind of art.
Yeah.
I mean, no literary critic is gonna read one kind of literature and criticize, or criticism theory. And I mean, as someone with a background in mentoring and coaching, there's no one right way to, interact with a 5-year-old or a 13-year-old. Or I mean, there's everything is, and what that allows is someone like a Kota Ibushi or a Kenny Omega or an Okada I went here and I can take all that and pour it into my creativity. And of course, with everyone having the ability, I mean, Super Junior is going to be at the right time this year. We found that out today, basically.
Finally.
So it's going to be in May. And with any luck, they will unleash the fans.
God, I hope so.
It's still tough with the roster things, and I can totally understand work pieces and all that stuff. But I think it would make an enormous difference if they could unmask those Japanese fans.
They've been waiting for so long. I know
you
they're
can
so
tell.
ready.
Especially and I think it's that Hiromu match, especially you could see people it's getting harder for them to not scream.
Yeah, well, because you're suppressing human emotion, and so especially
it's getting harder for them to scream inside their heart.
Exactly. Especially because they can feel, so many things. We're getting closer and closer to having borders opening, and we're getting closer and closer. And so that, on top of everything, and top of being, 3 years into this, that it's hard. So I hope that they get that soon, because I'm sure that because I've been, I've been to a couple of times. I've been back to a few wrestling shows already. So, and I couldn't imagine not being able to just having a scream in my heart, which, if I had to, I would do it.
I would do it. But they have bigger hearts than me right now.
Yeah. And then especially with a tournament like that, you want to have the crowd involvement with that. You have, and they feed off of it, obviously, too. And so so hopefully things get, back on track soon.
And then maybe we'll have a real G1.
Yes. And then maybe we will have the G1 because where Danielson can be in it, because I know he really wants to do that. Yeah,
we were all my little wrestling group was talking about who could be in this tourney and who could be in that. And
I want Danielson and Samoa Joe to be in it. So bad.
That's Samoa Joe. That would be a
really
solid. I wonder if he could.
Yeah, if he could do it, I would.
That'd be good for him.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think just to kind of even, he is, I know he's gotten older, but I mean, look at all these guys in Japan who are, in their 50s and are still doing it. So I think if he could, even if it ends up being, where he can only do, maybe this is his last one, maybe this is the last one he could do, or maybe he could get a couple more in. I don't know, but I think just seeing Samoa Joe there, I think would be, especially with the talent they have. Like I want to see Samoa Joe versus Shingo Takagi.
Yes.
I want to see Ishii. Like give me these matches. So so I'm hoping that this is the year they get the proper G1. I hope we don't have to wait another year for that, but I understand, with how things are going,
we want it to be safe.
Yeah. So I never, so if it's not this year, then hopefully next year. But speaking of Japan, we have been catching up on New Japan Strong, which I'm very glad I got back into because the last few shows I've watched have been very, very good. Like we said last week, everybody should be watching New Japan Strong. There's so much good stuff there. Yay! So the episode last week, I had watched previously, and then Mel has
I've gotten caught up.
So the first match was Kevin Knight versus Hikuleo, which was a really good match. I had never seen I don't think I had seen Kevin Knight before, or if I had, I've only seen him like once or twice. That was I enjoyed that match. I thought that was a really good one. Then there was Kevin Blackwood versus Arya Daivari,
which was really good.
Yes, very good.
Kevin Blackwood. Didn't know anything about that guy. Oh, holy cow.
Yeah, I've only seen I know him more because I follow him on Twitter, and I know him because some of you will know him because he used to have blue hair and he has a lot of tattoos. Now he has pink hair. But he's part of the, they actually mentioned him on Dynamite. They touched on it when they were talking about Daniel Garcia. They were talking about the car accident that he was in, and Kevin Blackwood was involved in that. He
seems like he's a little bit of an Okada fan from his,
or
a Brokada.
Yeah,
so that's okay.
So that was his debut match in New Japan, and in New Japan Strong. Arya Daivari, obviously, a lot of us are familiar with, especially if you watch 205 Live. He's been in AEW a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah, so Arya Daivari was very good too. That was that match. Like I saw it on paper and I was like, okay, that'll be pretty good. And then I saw it and it exceeded anything that I had, thought that it would be. So I like that. And then the main event. The main event was Jay White. So Jay White, if haven't been keeping up with it, he has the US of J challenge, where he just basically has an open challenge. And this time it was answered by Swerve. And he definitely made a case for New Japan Strong being his house.
He sure did.
And so this match was actually this was taped prior to his AEW stuff.
That's what I thought. I feel like I remember. Was this a Seattle show?
It was.
Okay, that makes a lot.
I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive it was in Seattle. I'm pretty sure that it was.
I know it was definitely. I remember Brian Alvarez saying that Swerve debuted at Strong or something like just in passing one of these deals.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know it was definitely West Coast because somebody I follow on Twitter was there, and they live in California. So I know it was definitely a West Coast thing, but I think maybe it was, and that was right because before he went to AEW. I know that he did the Terminus show, which was a really great match, and then he's done a couple of Defy things, which used to be his home base. That was his big promotion before he got signed. That's where he went, and I think that him and Darby Allin apparently had a big thing there together. And then now Nick Wayne is the guy that he's 16 years old. He's has no business being as good as he is at 16 years old.
He's technically on my GCW card, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and
technically.
So AEW signed him to some sort of deal, is probably, I guess, like a developmental type thing, because he can't obviously do anything until he's 18, but he can wrestle certain shows, and so he's doing the GCW stuff. He is doing the Defy stuff, and so they've paired him with Swerve. They've done. I haven't had a chance to check it out, but I did see on YouTube that Defy has put up the match with Nick Wayne versus Swerve. It's up for free.
Oh, great.
So I definitely want to try to check that out, because I've only seen a little bit of Nick Wayne. So I would like to see him against somebody like Swerve, who is clearly he's definitely one of the top guys out there right now.
I've probably seen him a half dozen times just because he was a regular in Evolve. And he was probably in every single card that I saw at Evolve shows.
Yeah.
So
he's incredible. So I know that he's in AEW. I hope that he gets to do some more strong stuff, just because there's so many wrestlers that I think that he could have great matches with in both companies. So I'd really like to see him there. So yeah, that was a really good match. Do you have anything else to say about that one before we move to?
Nope.
Okay. So the show last night started with Stray Dog Army, which is Barrett Brown, Mysterioso, and Bateman versus Fred Yehai, the DKC, and I believe it's pronounced Keita. Maybe it was Keita. Sorry about that.
I was trying to remember too.
Yeah. So that was an interesting match. I've seen Mysterioso before, like once. I feel like he was on Dark. I think he did. I think he had a Dark match.
You know what? You're right.
I think
he must have done a Dark show, because I was like, I've seen this guy before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
they get a lot of people on those shows. I mean, I was really watching fairly regularly for a stretch last year into this year, because I needed that like extra stimulation.
Right.
I've gotten a little away from it, but still on a Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
I enjoy them. And Taz and Excalibur. I watched Taz and Excalibur on freaking.
Oh my God. They are that alone is worth watching.
For a long time, I wasn't watching Dark.
Just listening.
I would put it on while I was doing like dishes and things and folding and whatever.
Sure.
And my friend actually put it perfectly. He said it's a podcast where wrestling matches occasionally break out. And it was true, because occasionally you'd hear it and you turn around and it was like, oh, there's a really good match on this thing too. But those two.
Yeah, and especially you get to hear Taz singing. Which is he makes up his own lyrics.
He's fantastic commentator, Jones.
The Ruby Soho song.
Exactly.
I think that one's my favorite of the ones that he does. So yeah. so that's where I've seen Mysterioso before. Yes. Bateman is in Ring of Honor. I don't think I saw too much of his stuff, because I kind of got out of Ring of Honor towards basically after the New Japan or the super show they did at Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I gave up on keeping up with it regularly. But I will say Fred Yehai.
Yeah.
Love that guy. He's wrestled. I've seen him a lot of times over the years. And I think some people don't realize that he's a heel now. He doesn't say, yep, you're in big trouble anymore. He is full on serious. He's wrestled in my local promotion, PWX, quite a few times. He came last year and had 3 matches with Lucky Ali, who is definitely one of their bright stars. He's up and coming. He has wrestled for New Japan before. It was a YouTube match, but I would expect to see him more on Strong stuff, just the more he does it. But so I think, like I said, PWX is now on IWTV. I want to say that means those matches are there. They are phenomenal. They are just hard hitting. There's definitely a lot of personal things that come across. It kind of got more where it was not just a match. It was just, they wanted to beat the crap out of each other for real. And so I love this version of Fred Yehai. I think he's great. I think he's underrated. I don't think he gets talked about enough. I'm hoping now that now that he's back, I hope he does more stuff with Strong, because I think he's really great. And I think a lot of people need to see him for sure.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the show. I'm so glad that I decided that this was when I was going to commit to it.
Yeah. Me too.
I almost feel bad for not listening to Friends sooner and getting, but
Yeah.
I love the presentation. I love that gymnasium feel. I love the guys against the board with the ads and I love it. It really is becoming like my favorite show to watch.
Right. I really wish I had not gotten out of the habit of watching it before, because I know I missed a ton of good stuff in between. So I'm really glad
that's okay. I'm going to use Justin's book and I'll pick up some matches.
There we go. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And another thing that I think that's great about the show is the shows run from either 53, I think they average about 53 minutes. I think the longest one was an hour and 4 minutes, like of the 4 that we've been watching. So they're easy to consume. There's 3 matches. There is the first 2 matches, and there's like maybe a 2 or 3 minute kind of break where they are talking about different New Japan related things, and then they go straight into the main event. Like there's not a whole lot of downtime, so it goes by quickly. It definitely it keeps your attention, which I think is really great. And I think this is they found a really good format and that works for them, and they're able to commit to it and make it a really great presentation, like you said. So I really enjoy that. And then, so the second match, when I saw that it was the second match, I wondered why it was not the main event, because it's Chris Bay versus Blake Christian.
Of course.
I'm a fan of both of these guys. I've watched both of them for a couple of years now. Chris Bay, even before he was on Impact, I saw him in different places. I want to say in GCW. I definitely saw clips of him on Twitter. I think is how I found him, was because I saw some stuff he was posted and I ended up following him and he followed me back. And so I was like, yay, Chris Bay followed me before he was in Impact. But yeah, so I really enjoy Chris Bay. I think he's fantastic. And then Blake Christian, I saw a lot pre WWE before then he was only there for like 6 months as well.
What did he get turned into there?
He was what is his name?
I never know their names.
Baxter. What was it? It was Trey Baxter.
Okay. Yeah.
He was on 205 Live. I think he may have been on NXT like once or twice. But he was mostly just showing out on 205. He did a lot of stuff with Anthony Henry, which I enjoyed. He's so good. He's just
great. That's probably the first time I can recall. I'm sure I've seen him, but that was the first time where I was like, this guy didn't just drop out of the sky.
No, he's fantastic. Yeah, like I think the first time I saw him, it was my friend who's really into GCW. He saw a clip on Twitter and was like, "Oh my God, watch what he just did!" And that clip I think ended up going viral. And then he kept getting invited back to GCW, and he did like and he was doing a bunch of indie stuff. And then he was in WWE for about 6 months, I want to say. They kept his girlfriend Cora Jade, who because I saw her on the indies like twice, Elena Black. Well, no, more than twice, because I saw her a couple of GCW shows, but she did some stuff in AEW. She did some dark stuff. And then she signed with WWE, and they seem to be using her very well. I hope they keep that up. She's super talented. She's like 22 years old. Like she's really good. I hope that they can let her just be herself and not try to change things, but I don't have faith in that. I think she will succeed despite whatever they make her do.
That's good.
So she's very good. But anyway, so back to this match. This was awesome. It was everything I expected it to be. They have really great chemistry together, I think. So what did you think about this one?
I was really impressed. I really like seeing Chris Bay go wrestle other people that are on that level. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm nothing against Impact wrestlers,
right?
It's a different style and it's a different kind of wrestling.
I think when he's on the indies, it's like he can dial it up a notch, and so he's quicker. It's like he brings a different, like it's like they have to. I'm sure for TV they kind of slow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think for this type of stuff, like he can just dial it up a little bit, especially with somebody like Blake Christian, who is just nonstop from the minute the bell rings.
I just like watching. I really enjoy watching these guys wrestle. Like they get more time and whatever. Yeah. And I think that is driven somewhat by ads and TV and showmanship and who's allowed to do what and having to cut big giant promos and Impact can get a little long-winded with their storyline sometimes. Sure. So I really was like, wow, I like Chris Bay, but this was like a new level of Chris Bay that I really, really was like, oh, okay, wow,
Yeah.
this guy can
and
really
the ending,
get into it with someone that's on the level of
and I
doing
don't
that.
want to necessarily give away the ending, but the ending was definitely, it was kind of quick and unexpected, but
Yep.
it was really cool. And if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be somebody like Chris Bay, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that was really, and like you said, I think that that's another really good thing about the way this is formatted. They get, because there's 3 matches, they get the time that they need. They can tell the story. It's not, you don't, and it doesn't get interrupted by commercial breaks. Like,
oh my God, let me tell you, no picture in picture.
Yeah, no picture in picture.
God bless Excalibur, but you're not selling it to me, man. You just aren't.
And no for and then Impact has, like, because I time women's matches, so I know how long the commercial breaks are. The commercial breaks are literally 4 to 5 minutes, and it's just it can take you out of it when you're, especially so a match like this. Like, I would hate for there to be
oh my God, if they'd gone to commercial, I would have lost my mind. It's bad enough watching New Japan when the streaming isn't working properly.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. So I would definitely recommend going to see this. However, so going into the main event, like when I saw it on paper, I was like, okay, this will be good.
Yeah.
I like both guys. Still don't know why Bay and Christian are not the main event. Then I saw it and I understood completely why it was the main event. So the main event was Rindarita versus Buddy Matthews. Again, on paper, okay, this is going to be a solid match. This match far exceeded any expectation I had.
This match blew my mind. I'm like, trying not to tell I'm like, oh my gosh, you're for once, I'm ahead of my friend who watches regularly because I watched it like immediately last night, and there's a time difference. I'm sure it's been watched since, but I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that match was fantastic. And Rindarita has come such a long way. Like, he just
that guy is
better
a star.
and better. Oh, absolutely.
He's gonna show up in a New Japan ring one of these days, and it's gonna be.
I actually thought about that last night. I was like, he's gonna one of these sooner rather than later. He's not gonna be wearing this all black gear anymore. He's gonna graduate into, and he's just gonna be little Shibata, but with his own, which I think is really good. Like, he definitely has the similarities. Obviously, he's got the haircut. He was doing the whole like the whole Shibata thing, but he has his own flair, like his own, like he's just he's gonna be really big. I think especially, and I think New Japan will present him properly, and will, he's just extremely talented. And then Buddy Matthews, he just blows my mind every time I see him. Like, I enjoyed him in 205 Live. I enjoyed getting to, and I was very impressed with a lot of the stuff that he did. And then, even so far on AEW, he's been great. Like, Friday, he murdered Fuego on Rampage or Fuego.
That's right.
He just murdered him. His body, I think his soul left his body on that slam.
Mutilated.
But every time that Buddy would just dial it up, then Narita would just meet him. Like, he easily went toe to toe. A few times he exceeded what Buddy Matthews was doing. And then, Buddy did the whole where he did the Shibata pose, and it just sent Rindarita into a rage. And they were just beating the crap out of each other. They were just that hard hitting, and which I think, we enjoy the violence, but they just went at it and just turned it up. Like, they just kept getting into another level as the match went on, and it was so this is definitely like this show just in general. This episode, just even for Chris Bay and Blake Christian and then the Rindarita versus Buddy Matthews. Like, go out of your way. Like, even last week, like Swerve and Jay White, go out of your way to watch that. But this one, don't sleep on it just because you're like, okay, those are solid wrestlers. Like, go watch these matches. Like, this
was a really good show. This one, like, this solidified the fact that we're doing this.
Yeah.
It was like
I almost was like, so that was it.
It's
just an hour. There's not anymore.
I love and hate that feeling, but New Japan, I love feeling that way because New Japan for the longest time made me feel that way, where it was like, oh, it's over.
Yeah, definitely. And it was, so I would definitely recommend that is worth the subscription to New Japan World alone, just because of the things that they're doing. So I would definitely recommend going out of your way with that. So is there anything else you want to mention from New Japan before we move to the next subject?
Nope, that was a great show. I totally recommend it. All the people, and love the Rindarita.
Yeah, definitely. Guy. Yeah. So in AEW, we finally got the match that we should have had at Revolution between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. It was almost a year to the day of their famous St. Patrick's Slam match where they got to main event for the first time.
We got this picture
there we
here.
Go. Oh, yeah. She looked incredible.
She really did. She had a nice, fun opening. I was like, okay, she's definitely gonna be able to like. This was my favorite one, though. I know we showed this at the beginning, but this picture of her and Aubrey, one of my favorite things.
Mine too. Yeah, that was incredible. So this match, they got to main event again. This was the first ever steel cage match involving women, which was fantastic. This match went as long as the Revolution match went. It went 17 and a half minutes. So they got their tie. I was a little worried leading up to it because I was like, well, the cage and they got to have their entrances and things like that. But Britt had a pretty subdued entrance. She did have the Scott Hall tribute gear, which was really cool because I didn't know because the red and black that she wore before had like it's like similar to blood drops, but I didn't realize until she posted on Twitter. She posted a picture of her standing on a ladder and Scott's on a ladder and he's in the black jacket with the red drops, and so you see where the outfit where you make the connection where it was inspired. And so this time she went with the black and white gear, and so my sister and I were talking about it, and I wondered if like she already had that planned, or if because we had heard about his health issues, if she was like, please get me this. And whoever did it quickly, they did it. It looked fantastic. And so I thought the contrast in styles between, Thunder Rosa comes out in her hometown. She has the all-female mariachi band. She's like in her, full makeup and gear and costume. She looked phenomenal. And then Britt is just so kind of more subdued, like I've got this. This is my title. I've held it for a very long time. And she's got her tribute to Scott Hall. And so I thought that was cool, but the match itself was much better than the Revolution match we got. It seemed like because I have heard prior or after Revolution that they went back and forth on who was going to win multiple times. Like I heard they kept changing their mind a couple of times. So that kind of would make sense just based on the story that was told at Revolution. It just they never seemed to quite get on the same page the whole time. And then if you listen to us on Spaces, you know how not happy we were with that match, especially that ending. So we definitely got a satisfying ending this time. They brought back the thumbtacks, which was a callback to their first match. Apparently there are men on the internet who are mad about it. And to that I say, stay mad. Stay mad about it. They did not gimmick. I don't know why you would think that they would gimmick thumbtacks. I was like, they were stuck in. Thunder Rosa stood up and you could see it stuck to her gear. So apparently that was a thing. And then so Britt had to make a video and she showed her arm and it had thumbtack holes, and she showed she's like it got pushed around. And so Thunder Rosa was like, I would like to know if they were a gimmick, because she's like, my butt still hurts.
Right. She's like, that'd be great if they were, because then I wouldn't be on horrible pain.
So yeah. So I thought it was a really good match. And Thunder Rosa rightfully got the win. That crowd, I've heard it before. They've called it the Thunder Rosa pop. I've experienced the Thunder Rosa pop live.
Nice.
They do love Britt. Couple times I've seen Britt live, the fans really are into her, but it's a different level with Thunder Rosa, at least from my personal experience, just what I've heard and seen. Like the people love her. So I am really excited to see where this goes. I hope that they give her really good matches. I hope that in this title run that she gets the main event a pay-per-view, because the women have done a lot, and they did a lot with Britt. I believe Britt main evented 5 times during her title reign, but it was never a pay-per-view. Sheeta said that was the one thing that she wanted, was to pay-per-view. She wanted to headline a pay-per-view and as champion. She didn't get that opportunity. So I hope, we're 3 years in now. I know there's only 4 pay-per-views per year, but at this point it's time to let the women main event, because they can tell a story. And I guess looking back at how the match ended up being, maybe they did do the right thing to have Hangman and Cole main event. However, the reasons that Tony gave were the same reasons that Britt and Thunder Rosa should have. I mean, they told that story for a year. And so I'm hoping they give, Thunder Rosa proper stories and proper matches, and then get her to a level where she can headline a pay-per-view.
Where it makes sense to put that with the stories that are being told.
Yeah.
In fairness, like, this was a good storyline. It had run its course, certainly.
Right.
I think that's why we were a little annoyed at Revolution.
Right.
And we were ready. And I think it's time for Britt to go, kind of be in the wings and do the things that she'll still do, and refresh and help, the other women, and maybe even show them like how to go from where she was to where she's been for the last year. I hope that they give Thunder Rosa a good push now that she got the belt on, but I was thinking to myself, like, what is the story? Like, what are they going to do with her? I was trying to figure out, like, who is it that they are going to give her to feud with, and what is going to be.
And I'm interesting.
I don't see, maybe
they're going to kind of go
naivety, but
right. Well, and maybe they're going to kind of go the Hangman route, where they have, Hangman has wrestled Danielson. He's wrestled Lance Archer. He did the Adam Cole stuff, and now, we're leading into, whatever, maybe some people think maybe it's going to be MJF. I don't know that we're going to get there that soon. I do think it's coming.
Although I feel like if they don't do it something sooner than later with him, I think that he knows exactly what his value is, and I don't think he's afraid to.
Right, and I think that's true, but I also think AEW has planned out, at least with the men, I agree with that. They have planned out their champions. They knew They knew Jericho. They knew the order it was going to be. So I think that Hangman is going to get, I think he's going to get his due. I think he's going to get a nice. Maybe he won't. I would like to see him get a year. I don't know that they'll do that, because now there are so many people that they had that they did not know 3 years ago that they were going to have these people. And so that changes things. So that changes the timeline. And so maybe it's a 9-month championship reign. Maybe, maybe it's only 6 months. Well, but that's the thing. So it's easy with the men. You see what they've got, but the women, because there are so few women, there's only, so much that they can do. It appears. It does seem like Athena is coming in, but she's coming in for Jade, because they have been going back and forth on Twitter for about 2 weeks now. So Athena seems to be, so it definitely seems like Athena's on the way. But it seems like she's coming for Jade. Maybe Jade has a pit stop on the way to Thunder Rosa. Maybe she's going to work her way up to Thunder Rosa and not just get, the immediate thing. I have heard that Candice LeRae's contract is up this spring, and that they are not, that she's not gonna stay, because they don't want women of a certain age anymore. So
we've had babies, and
she's had a baby and all that stuff. So I would love to see Candice LeRae in AEW. I think she'd be
a good fit there all the way around, because she's got a great.
I knew the things that, because WWE did not let her live up to what she could have been. She should have been champion a long time ago. So I would love to see her, and she's that veteran presence that that the locker room still needs, that roster still needs. So I would love to see Candice LeRae there. So I don't really know where Thunder Rosa goes next. I mean, she sort of has the alliance with Mercedes, but Mercedes was hired by Britt Baker to take her out. So, how much of that loyalty is actually there. So, I could see something with Mercedes and Mercedes and Thunder Rosa, which would be phenomenal. I think Mercedes is a great wrestler. I really like her a lot. So, maybe that's where they go. And so, but I kind of wonder if they're going the Hangman route with her, where she wrestles. And, I do, eventually I think we'll get her, Nyla has already threatened to come after her to the night she won. She congratulated her for making history, because I believe that, I haven't heard confirmation, but I believe Thunder Rosa is the first Latina AEW women's champion. I believe I have also heard that she is the first Mexican-born woman to win a women's title in any major U.S. promotion.
I was gonna say I
believe that is correct. I haven't had confirmation.
It's gotta be close. I mean,
I haven't had confirmation, so I can't say for sure. But I have seen that they are pretty sure that she is the first Mexican-born women's champion for a major company and in the US anyway. So, you know, so I hope that they help her. So, you know, Nyla has definitely already threatened her. So I think that's happening. I'm sure Serena Deeb will make her way.
Of course.
You know, she'll make her way into the picture. And I mean, maybe we even see Ty Conti again, or, you know, or Anna Jay. Maybe we see some of these women kind of grow more this year and, you know, they challenge her. So I would like to see her defend it more than like 5 times.
And the Paige Van Zandt thing? You think maybe with her, maybe to try and give her a push to get her a little over, as it were, because she's got kind of the thing, and of course the MMA dudes always like they know who she is, so that is a draw. So although I have a genius idea if TNT wants it, here's a free one, TNT.
Okay.
Take Thunder Rosa's taco blog, turn it into a Roads to the Top type show, and just put it on TV. Women will love it. It'll be like the next Total Bellas. And the reason it's people eating tacos and she's getting their stories from them. Like the one with John Silver, where you would think, oh, that's, maybe dudes would be. No. Ladies would have loved to sit and watch Johnny Hungry with the taco.
I love Johnny Hungry.
He's so cute. And it was so interesting to hear his story and how I feel like that would be almost better because it's a little more like working class, as it were, or personable. Because what she's doing is, aside from making me hungry for tacos all the damn time,
right?
She's talking to people about how'd you get into it, and so it would actually give people, oh, I know his backstory now.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Let's go watch him wrestle. So there's a free one, TNT.
TNT take that, because I really need to check out her blog, because I'm the main two that
not even my fault. My husband is the one.
And I need to watch it because I love Thunder Rosa. She's one of my favorites, so I need to watch it anyway just to see what she's doing. And
she's gonna be a great champion. She does so much outreach with communities.
Yeah, and I know some people are a little concerned about because Britt definitely has a lot of personality. She's very good on, and she's come a long way from those first promos.
Oh my god,
it's like night and day. She's completely she's really grew into her own. She grew into her character, and I think that Thunder Rosa is definitely she's amazing in the ring, and so I think that she's going to be a good wrestling champion. And so I think some people are a little concerned about character wise, what she's going to do on the mic, but she doesn't have to be what Britt Baker was. She's her own woman. Thunder Rosa can do, I think Thunder Rosa can make her title reign be something completely different. And I think that they made the right call with her at this time. So I think that I have faith. AEW has pretty well delivered with what they're doing. They have a vision. So I have faith in them that they'll do this right. So I really hope that they do. And since we've been talking about this, I want to go ahead and bring up some comments that QT.
All right, let's see if I can get this to work, everybody. Mel is going to test this thing here.
Yeah.
Because
I have some thoughts.
I have some thoughts. Window. Here we go. Let me see if I can get this here. Okay, and someone's going to get a little cred here.
There we go.
Okay, so it's up. Now let's see if the audio comes through. Can you hear the audio?
No. Can you unmute the speaker? Will it let you? Oh, no, it looks like the speaker's unmuted, so I don't know why it won't let us hear it.
This was the biggest thing here. I think I know what I need to do. Let's try it one more time. Oh, don't do that, silly girl. There it is. All right. Get out of the way. All right. Bear with us, folks. We are adorable.
Listen, we are professionals. Or we're gonna pretend like we are until we get there.
I'm gonna share this. I want to share this. And I want you to share our system audio. There it is. I got it.
Yay.
All right. And you'll see a little cameo there by our friend Denise, I think. Here, let's move this up there, just there. All right, let's see if this works. You hear it?
No. Maybe they just don't want to make me irritated again. They're like, let's not send Sam off onto a tangent. Because I listened to it before the show, because I haven't listened to it in a while, and I got irritated listening to it.
I'm gonna try it one more time, and then
if not,
we will do this. I promise.
We'll get it. We'll put it in the comments, and we can put it on Twitter too, for sure. Because if you didn't hear these comments, you need to. Especially if you're a fan of women's wrestling.
I wish that people would think before they talked.
Yeah, maybe he just wasn't expecting the question, and so he gave the answer he gave, but I don't know.
I know we can see the video, but the problem we can see is the audio, and the audio is not working. Now, what a pain in my hole. Yeah, my hole.
That's exactly what I thought of, which I wish I did not, but that's where my mind went to.
I didn't even think about it.
As soon as you said it, I was like, oh no. Now I hear it. I'm sure people watching this heard that too. So you guys are welcome for that.
Everyone.
Okay, so basically,
we're gonna give a quick rundown. We're gonna take it out of context. We will post this on if you look below me right down there, you'll see our Twitter. We'll post it, and let me stop sharing this here so we can get this going. All right. And I'm going to break it down a little because the gist of it is that they're talking about giving women's matches more time on television.
Mm-hmm. And more than one match.
And having more than one match, he's like, well, we have the 2 on Rampage, which I'm like, is there like a quota?
No, they rarely get to 2 on Rampage. I cover Rampage and I time the women's matches. They generally have 1 match on Rampage, which they're like, well, it's an hour. Well, okay, it's an hour, but you can still put 2 women's matches in there. You have 3 men's matches. You can have 2 women's matches if you want.
He goes on to make the point,
his point,
where he says, okay, so if we have 100 wrestlers and 25 of them are women and 75 of them are men, what are we supposed to do? Hire more women?
No, he says, are we supposed to fire all of the men and hire more women?
That's right.
I went back and listened to it today, which makes the comment even more
poorly thought out. We're going to say poorly thought out. I think that this is a situation where not everybody is good on the mic with the press. And I'm not saying that makes what he's saying right, because it's poorly thought out. He's saying essentially, like, should we fire the men to get more women? And it's like,
which is what nobody is saying that.
Nobody wants you to fire the. You know what? You've had big thoughts about this and big feels about it for the last few days. So I really want to let's talk about your big feels.
Okay, well, so nobody is saying to fire anybody. Yes, you should hire more women, especially when you have women like Athena. You've got Mia Yim, you have Toni Storm, you have women from the indies that you have Willow Nightingale. Even Eddie Kingston said and he said in a promo a few weeks ago, this should be a women's match. And he was like, it should be Willow Nightingale. So like there's Trisha Dora. There are very talented women who are available. So yeah, you definitely should. But work with the women you do have. Don't just, put them on TV and do more with them. So I think one of my biggest complaints, obviously, is that there's only 1 women's match a week, and people don't fuss at Impact. Impact generally has 1 women's match, a week. There have been times where I'm timing those shows, and they've had 0 women's matches. It's very rare, but it has happened. But the thing is, even though they may only have 1 women's match per show, or they are doing kind of this similar thing where, Serena Deeb was running through women in like 2 minutes. Well, Masha Slamovich is on Impact, and they're obviously building her kind of like a Nyla Rose monster type where she just runs through everybody. So her matches are generally a minute long. Like I think her shortest match I want to say was like 46 seconds or something like that. But I get they're telling a story with her. Like I get what they're doing. So I don't have, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Nyla Rose squash matches sometimes. It's not all the time because we need to see what she's doing. So those things I'm fine with, but saying that, like presenting that as when you're having like, okay, an 8-minute women's match and then a 46-second women's match, like, okay, that's your 2, if that's your quota or whatever. But Impact does a very good job of telling stories with all of their women. They have a small women's division, but nearly everybody is involved in something. And we see it in backstage segments, and they get to tell stories, and the stories aren't just dropped. Like because we saw the stuff, because he mentions Ty Conti and Anna Jay and the Bunny, which they had their story, they had their big thing, and then that's been it. Like Ty got a title shot against Jade, which, you know, that's great, and they involved Anna Jay in that, but then they've kind of stopped. Like, so that's what they do. Like, they'll start getting stories going and then they quit. So I think, you know, these women don't have, so when you're not giving women time to wrestle, you don't give them time to tell a story, you don't give the fans time to connect with them, and then when you stop and start storylines, they aren't storyline friendly with women very much at all. Like, they do, it's like they're in a way like WWE, where they can focus on one women's storyline and that gets all the attention, and then all the other women are just like in catering, not getting anything. So they can, AEW is strong enough that they can have, there's at this point, there's no excuse to not have 2 women's matches per show. And there's no excuse to not have storylines, especially when you have something like BTE, which tends to build storylines for other things. Like a lot of the Dark Order stuff started there. A lot of the Hangman, Insecurity, Anxious Millennial Cowboy stuff started on BTE and transferred over to TV, but they don't really focus on women there. I don't think that's I don't know that that's really a conscious thing, but, you know, so they don't have these vehicles either to kind of take women from, you know, these stories. They're not building stories like on BTE or things like that where they can bring that to TV. Like there's nowhere, like, you know, they did have the Britt Baker, the waiting room thing where she was doing the talk show sort of, and they kind of built a little bit. So I thought maybe that would be a way to build some more storylines for women. That turned out not to be the case. And once she was champion, they quit. They kind of quit doing that. So there's a lot more that they could be doing, and they know it. And I think one of the things that really bothered me is QT, the very last thing he says before the clip cuts off is, why are you looking at them as men and women? They're just wrestlers. So the answer was a cop-out. First of all, he knows what the question was, what can we do better? And Denise said, fans are complaining that there's not enough women. So that is the question. You can't just gloss it over and be like, oh, well, equality, they're the same. Well, yes, but also no, especially when you've presented for them the last 3 years, you have presented women the same way. Like, you're in year 3 now. And you say you listen to the fans. Well, this has been a complaint that they've had the entire time. Then you need to start focusing on that. You need to start working on that. You have Thunder Rosa, you have Jade. They are both phenomenal women. They both get a lot of attention. A lot of fans like them. And I get what they were doing, you know, with the Jade, they were giving her shorter matches to begin with, but now she's getting longer matches. She's getting 8 and 9 minute matches now, which for her being a year in, I think is really good. And so I would like to see that continue, but there's no reason not, when you cram in like we're like on this coming up Dynamite, there's going to be an 8-man tornado tag team match, which does tell the story because it's, you know, AHO and our AFO and the Hardy Boys, and, you know, they're telling that story. So I get it, but they frequently will do that where they just cram a bunch of wrestlers into a match because they're trying to get them on TV. Okay, well then, you know, that could be, you could have women in those. I mean, I don't really want to see, because I don't go the WWE route where you're just you want women on TV, so you cram them into meaningless matches. So, but you know, there's more that they could be doing with the women. And I think that's one of their biggest hindrances, and you know, and when Rampage first started, people were wondering, like, is this going to be an all women's show? Like, that would have been, like, I do like Rampage and I like it for what it is, but you know, having that as an all women's show would be really cool. Is that, I don't know that people will go to YouTube and watch an all women's show. I would, just because I'm already on YouTube. People have more access to YouTube than, you know, a streaming like an HBO Max and things like that. So I would like, you know, an all women's show would eventually be cool, but until we get there, you know, we've got to, there's a lot to go before they get to an all women's show, I would say.
Yeah, I would definitely say that that's true, because they have very limited television time, and they need to continue to build their brand so that when next year, when they do come around for their thingy, that they can get renewed and we can continue to see all the wrestling on.
Yeah.
I think that I know that they have knowingly taken hits on quarters and all of those things, putting women's matches on there because they fundamentally do not draw the same way. But I sometimes feel like we run into this problem where there's a thing that tends to happen in media, like whether it's comic books or wrestling or whatever it is. I mean, there was a lot of controversy about this, even with Lady Ghostbusters, which I didn't like the movie, but whatever. It just wasn't my jam. But the idea is that the whole thing is like, we're going to do this thing with women in it, but we're not going to give it a good story, and we're not going to give it a good balance, and we're not going to give it a good shot. We're going to essentially give it a crappy story, or not enough time to develop, or
where they just kind of slap it together to be like, here,
put a bunch of pretty, some great art in there, but the cells are stupid, and she's a Mary Sue, or she's whatever. And the idea is that you're saying, well, we told women's stories and no one wanted to watch them. And it's like, no, you put some stuff out there that wasn't a well thought out, fill in the blank, whatever that thing may be. And you threw some chicks in there and said, go for it. And when they
you're setting
failed
them up
at the thing, they're setting them up for failure. So when they fail at the thing that you set them up to fail at, you go, see, no one wants ladies.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but it needs a fair shot. Now, in defense of, I was listening to the Bryan Danielson thing, and he's one of the people that's training Jade, and I love that. That changed my entire perspective.
Right.
I wish the QT hadn't come out and said this, because in a lot of these things, like even in the blog when Thunder Rosa is talking to the other ladies, is they have nothing but good things to say about him as a coach. And then he goes out there and it's like,
he undermines what they say.
Again, I don't think everybody's good with Mr. Microphone. And I think that, unfortunately, because that mentality is, should we fire everybody? And
which is nobody has said that.
I just think that it ends up, you just said it, it undermines everything about it. And it makes you question, are they really giving it a fair shake? Or, and I'm sure that he's a little frustrated by being asked the question, and that, but you're
but you're representing AEW.
Well, they committed. It wasn't that everyone said, you need to have a good women's division, and you need to put this many women on, and you need to separate yourself from WWE and everything else. They said that.
Yeah. And they failed to deliver there. That is where they have, and we knew coming into it, they're not going to be perfect. There's no way. Nobody will ever be perfect.
Well, they're blazing a path in North America, in the U.S. specifically. But I think it's important to make sure to understand is that we didn't say that you needed to have a specific kind of thing. You said, we're going to make sure and have this specific kind of thing for the women.
And they even made the comment, Cody did, when in the beginning, that, this was going to be the most diverse company. And then we've seen, there's been diversity issues. There's been issues with people, people want Sunny Kiss on TV, and Sunny Kiss hasn't been on TV, I believe, since October 2020, I think is what I saw something the other day. Sunny has done a few things here and there and had some fantastic matches on Dark that should have been on TV. And for people like me who watch Dark every week, like, I'm glad we get rewarded with good feuds and good matches, but people are asking for Sunny Kiss, and like, you're not delivering. And so you're giving them, you're like, okay, well, this is how it's going to be. We have CM Punk, we have, we have Adam Cole, we have Red Dragon, which, yes, great. I love them. I want to see them. But you also have these women too. And you told us when this company started, we're going to be, we're going to be diverse. We're going to be different from everybody else. We're going to add in more of these elements. Like, and so then you see people that were signing like, TH2 and Joey Janela and people who came from the indies. And so we thought maybe we were going to get some more. I mean, we have, but it made it seem like we were going to get more indie stuff like that. Like, Orange Cassidy is probably, I guess, of the indie people they brought in, Orange Cassidy is probably one of the people that they've had on TV the most. And then it seems like they're changing Chris Statlander's character. And she was known for being an alien. Like, that was her thing. Like, because I had a friend who wasn't really familiar with a lot of the stuff on the indies, and he was like, why is this person an alien? Like, why? And I was like, because that was who she was, on the indie scene. That's why people liked her. Like, that would be like taking away Orange Cassidy and being like, why is he like this? Well, that's what made him Orange Cassidy. That's what made him popular. And so now we see, they're going at different, I mean, Chris kind of set herself up with the adoption comment that she made, and kind of basically made herself a heel in the storyline with Layla Hirsch, where she deserved to be put up for adoption.
Yeah.
So you kind of can't come back from that. So maybe that's where they were going. But so you see, like, so I was going somewhere with this, and I don't remember where I was going with that tirade. But yeah, so you promised us these things, and I understand, I understand things change, but this is a fundamental thing. Like, women should be getting more time. It's 2022. We should not be having I should not be having the same conversation that I had, the day the company started. I've been timing matches since October of 2020. It was supposed to be a 1-week thing because there were always complaints. It was like, WWE does this, Impact does this, AEW does this. And I was like, well, hold on, let's take a closer look at this. And then I decided 1 week was not enough time. And so it went a 6 months thing. And then we were supposed to, then that's when the Forbidden Door was starting. So I thought, okay, well, we're going to get more women like crossing over. That didn't pan out. And then they had the women's tournaments in AEW, and then Impact had the Knockouts tag team tournament. And so and it seems like women were getting, like, it seems every time, it's just that old saying, it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And it's women's wrestling across the board. Like, this isn't an AEW problem only. Like, this is a problem across wrestling companies everywhere that are not women centric. This is an issue and it's still a problem, and there is an answer to it. They just have to be willing to take the time to find the answer and to figure out how to balance it. Okay, so you don't want to be like, okay, well, all these men are sitting around, what about them? Okay, well, then find a way to make it work. Find a way to tell these women's stories. Find a way to make these characters matter. Find a way to make these women just as important as the men, because that's the thing. They feel like an afterthought a lot of the time. If they don't have a title on them, then it feels like an afterthought, which is what happens in WWE. If they're not one of the 4 horsewomen, they're an afterthought in the,
Yeah, you made a great, I really did enjoy that article you wrote about that, because it makes a really good point about the fact that they, instead of using those women to build their division,
they use them to hold them down.
Yeah. And I don't know.
And so, I mean, that's why I said, like, I don't want this to be like I'm harping on AEW. I mean, it was QT that made the comment, but this is a problem that especially because I've been timing matches for a year and a half. This is a problem in all 3 companies. Impact, they have the best. I think they have one of the better women's divisions because they tell stories. They get these women on TV. There's multiple things happening. They have, there's a lot of things going on, and they try to get them on TV, or there's in backstage segments where we get to learn these characters, and it's not catty things. And then they don't have people like Dan Lambert who constantly undermine women. Like, he made a comment on Friday on Rampage and implied that Ty Conti has an STD. Like, this is like, and it just,
that's what he's trying to do, but
I understand I get it, but it's 2022. There's no reason for that, especially when you're trying to promote these women. When you're trying to make Ty Conti be somebody who can beat Jade. Don't undermine her. And then how are you gonna, like, if I'm supposed to take Paige Van Zant seriously and think that she's gonna be a threat eventually to one of these women, then why am I I don't, because like Paige's story prior to AEW is that she's uses her story to be an advocate for anti-bullying, but then you put her with Dan Lambert, who constantly shames women. He relies on stuff that worked in 1999. Like the stuff with Brandy was like abhorrent. Like, he was just saying horrible things, and it keeps happening. And so I don't see, but you want me to believe that Paige is not a bully, even as a heel. Like, she can be a heel without doing these things. Like, that's the thing, is like, even we talked about with Tom Lawler, like, he's a really great heel, and he doesn't have to rely on these old tactics where he's like criticizing. He's not body shaming people. He's not saying they're dumb or they're uneducated. Like, I understand that those are easy tactics. Like, I totally get it, but at this point there's no reason for it, especially when you're on national TV. There's no reason.
Well, I mean, it's kind of, I guess, the end of the day, it's not creative.
No, it's lazy.
Because it's simply just it's low hanging fruit.
Yeah, it's lazy.
Very low.
And then, you know, and yeah, well, and you know, and I think Hangman Page, when he called him a walking Facebook profile, that's the most accurate term of what Dan Lambert's character is. He is a walking Facebook profile. Like if I wanted to, I mean, basically, if I want to hear some of these comments, all I have to do is open Twitter and I will see them because
I mean, I think that's what he's going for.
Which, yeah, I get it. Like, I get the character.
No, I know. I have no doubt in my mind that you know.
I totally get where I understand it. I don't like it. I think it's terrible. And I think there's no, you can be a heel and you can be an effective heel without shaming women or shaming anybody for that matter. But you don't have to, when you're not even giving women, you know, you're not giving them enough TV time. You're not giving them storylines. But then you have a man coming on and he's saying these things and he's called, like he was calling Brandy a stripper. And he was like he says, like, and then he just slipped that Ty Conti comment in there, but I heard it. And I was just, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like he just, and it happened. And it was like, he can't go more than 3 sentences without shaming a woman. Like it just is very, it's, I hate it. Like I get his character and I get, but there's just, he can cut some things out. But when it's going into the bigger conversation about how you're presenting women and how you present, you know, how you're already presenting, like maybe, so you've got Thunder Rosa and you've got Jade. Sometimes you have the bunny, sometimes you have Ty Conti. Like you've got Nyla sometimes, now we have Sheeta back. So there's no need to continue to push women down when you're already doing that by not booking them properly.
I think it's historically difficult for women in sport in general.
Yeah.
Because there is very little legacy of women in sport to draw from, where men have coaching trees that go back decades.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have that benefit in a lot of the sports, whether it be, you know, professional basketball or women's wrestling or whatever else, is that I think a lot of that stuff, maybe basketball might be have the biggest like sort of head start against people in terms of like getting women into sport or getting people into women's sports and, you know, in that regard. Yeah. But I think that it's really difficult because to change institutionalized ideas, you have to put new people into that institution and new minds and new. And so I think it's going to take some time. You have to change
the mindset. Like you can't have people. So it's seemingly that QT is of that old mindset. Like, you know, the women get what we give them.
I think that, defense or in defense is, I think in general, you have to look at how people, I am raised this way and I do have this background. And I do have this institutionalized mindset. That doesn't make it right. It means that, but also like be open-minded to criticism when someone says, hey, you know, that came off this way.
Right.
I don't know. It's like, it's really difficult because again, a lot of the women speak very highly of him as a coach and a mentor. And then I would feel
like, I don't hate personally.
No, I don't think that at all. I don't think that at all. I think it would be difficult for me, someone who's a former, I played soccer from the time I was 5 years old. I was in sports through college.
Right.
It would be difficult for me to have a coach go out there and maybe say something like that, because it's like, I know my coach doesn't think that way, but unfortunately he has difficulty putting his thoughts into something that doesn't come off so
it just seems like he doesn't. Yeah, it just seems like he doesn't care. Like it just. But that last comment, where he just ended it, was like he thought he was saving the conversation. He was, because he was just like, well, they're all wrestlers. Well, not in the situation, not in the context of the conversation we're having. So there has to be a lot. So there has to be a lot of change in conversation, and it's obviously going to be an ongoing thing. And you know, if AEW fully moves to 2 women's matches, like that's not going to solve everything. Like you can't just be like, okay, here's your 2 women's matches. Are you happy now? Because you have to continue to grow and build and do all of these things. But if you're putting all this time and effort into men and in these divisions, then you can do it with women too. And that's again across all companies. You know, WWE really struggles with that. They, you know, if it's not Charlotte Flair or Becky Lynch, then, you know, it's hard. And then you see, like, we thought we were getting there with Bianca, and then she loses in 26 seconds. And then she is getting her Mania match this year. I haven't watched a lot of WWE since late last year. So I kind of, so from the outside looking in, it looks like it's going to, like, it feels predictable, like it's going to be more of the same. I mean, maybe I will be pleasantly surprised. But so it's just, it is the thing. So even if they do put the title back on Bianca, which I hope they do, but that doesn't mean that you don't, like, what are they doing with Alexa Bliss? Like, they haven't done, her story didn't really lead to anywhere, and then they kind of brought her back, and now she's not been on TV for several weeks, and so they keep, it's like they get single focus, or like single-minded, just narrowly focusing on like 2 or 3 stories, and then everybody else is just kind of hanging out. And I'm sure, and I know it's difficult, but I mean, there's, at this point, there's got to be some work, and they've got to really do some more, I think. And because, we can't be having the same conversation, over and over again, especially, like, I don't want to have the same conversation next year, but at this point, I don't have faith in that. I think I will still be timing matches for another year, probably.
It's an interesting experiment, though.
Yeah, and it really isn't. Like, you see stuff on like Dark and Elevation where these women are getting like 3-minute matches, or getting 2-minute matches, and like like we've mentioned before, like, it is, when you're sitting through a live show, it is a lot when they're filming Elevation, Dynamite, Rampage, Dark. Like, so they've got to come up with a better format. And I do get that there's obviously a different feeling from getting wrestlers, reps in front of a live crowd versus, something that's filmed in a studio. Like, I really like the Orlando thing, but even there, they weren't giving women long matches. And so cut some of you're going to have to cut some of the men's matches to get women at 5 to 7 minute matches on Dark and Elevation. And I know the excuses of nobody's watching it. Well, I watch it. So I want to see, stop squashing these women. Let them, like, they're not going to learn. If you're giving them 3-minute matches, you're not going to, how Willow Nightingale, you probably should have signed, but you're giving her 3-minute matches on Dark and Elevation. So you can't see what she's doing unless you're watching what she's doing on the indie scene, which she happens to be killing it when she's on the indies. But, not everybody has access to that, or they don't know where to watch her. So if you've got her on your program, like they brought in Session Moth Martina, they brought her in from, she's done stuff with OTT, she's done stuff with ROH. They gave her 2 matches, and they were both less than 5 minutes. So, they have these, so they're even bringing in somewhat established women and then not giving them any time. And so you're not giving your fans a chance to get to know them either. So, like I said, this is a conversation that could go on and be a very long-winded.
We are not going to do that.
Yeah, so we're not going to do that. And so we're basically, especially because I feel like I'm just repeating the same things over and over in a different way. But and we are definitely at the 1.5-hour mark, and I'm sure we've kept you guys for a long time, and we thank you for being here with us. Do you have anything you would like to plug?
I think I'm good. I'm at Melgrade on Twitter if you want to hang out with me on Twitter. We're at Powerbombshells there if you see the little thingy madoodle there. And Sam is going to be making an appearance coming up here soon on the Brews News cast with Garrett and Paul. So we're getting around. We're trying to make our way around the network and bother everyone.
The first live show I've ever done, so that should be interesting.
It'll be good practice for our live stream.
Exactly. So make sure that you're following. Definitely make sure you're following Power Bombshells on Twitter, because that's where you can, we'll be posting. Obviously, we'll post when this show goes live. It generally goes live at 8:00 on Sunday nights. So definitely that, but we will definitely keep you posted on the shows that we'll be doing. We're going to be hopping on Twitter Spaces during Mania week. I think we're doing one on Friday night. Yep. We're going to hop on a Twitter Spaces, so definitely make sure you're following us there, so you can follow us, so you can tune in on Spaces, and so you can see what we're doing and what we're watching, because Mania week we will be watching a lot of different things. And definitely come send us gifts. We like those. Come interact with us. We had a super scientific poll last week.
Yeah, super scientific.
Super
scientific. Twitter poll's the most scientific.
Yeah, exactly. So come interact with us and come follow us. And you can find me at Samantha_1713. And make sure you're following Fight Game Media as well. We are all over on all the platforms, so make sure you come follow us and check us out, and we'll be back next week with episode 5.
See you guys later.
Bye.